Hornbill ground report in today's hosted upon and by to I hold impeding hele John Pudaite ahia ama hele. It is sama bangan ikam sungaringa Christian legend wrote chunga Pudaite. World Bible President tapaya to in here man partnership mission society he. Chairman le President hinatua tu ikam boy ni nasata in Panalawa anasebuhi atua ki patu gen selo tampi nei watu ni he. Apalana teo tem kade holen peeding. Sir John, thank you so much for what your organization have been doing this time of crisis. So can you tell us a little bit in detail what your partnership mission has been trying to fit into this crisis, how much you have been taking, what role you have been playing in this time of crisis?
Sure. Well, like everyone here, we were so shocked, so horrified when the violence broke out from May 3rd afternoon. And we started getting the reports, updates. We could not even comprehend what was going on. And day by day, as we got more reports, of course, internet got shut down. We lost contact for a few days. Then we start catching up on all the violence, all the arson, all the burnings, looting, destruction that was happening to our people, and how widespread it was across Imphal and all the different areas. It was just shocking, just horrifying. And we tried to get a handle on this so that we could at least communicate even to our staff, to our friends in America. And so as we feel like we have been playing catch up continuously on understanding the depth and breadth of this wide-scale violence and the deep-seated anger and aggression against the tribal people. It's just been horrifying. But immediately we tried to start raising some money to help out. We didn't know exactly what was happening. We know churches are getting attacked, destroyed, looted, vandalized. We knew that many had lost their homes, even our own pastors and church members, and so many people from all the different tribal communities that we knew we were going to have to help out in some way. So we started raising some funds, and by God's grace, we've been able to do our, at least a little part in helping to relieve the pain and suffering here in this part of Manipur. So up to this point, we've been involved. First and foremost, we jumped into action on the medical front. There were victims of the violence who were coming to the hospital, and there were others who had run out from their house, some wearing only the pajamas and t-shirts, slippers, and they've left behind their medicines and everything, insulin for the diabetic patients, all of this. So we started providing that free of cost from the hospital and any health care. Then as the displaced persons were brought from Imphal to the relief camps here, we put out the word that, okay, anyone who needs treatment for any sickness, illness, anything, they can come to Silmat Christian Hospital and they can get free medicines, free treatment. And so by God's grace, we have been able to continue this all the way up to today. In fact, yesterday I was there at the hospital, happened to see one young man who had been shot on the front lines. And our team there was able to remove the bullet and then do the dressing and then transfer him for further care at the civil hospital. So we are thankful to God that He has allowed us to be involved in this way, providing medicines, health care, all the supplies for surgeries and other things that are needed, and even to provide some significant equipment for the needs of the people here.
The scale of violence has been unprecedented. As you have said, this beyond imagination.
Yeah.
Just within two days, just within one day, the district hospital has nurses and doctors have to take care of almost 112 injured. The same thing is happening even here in Silmat.
Yeah.
How quickly is the medical stock running out, and how much are you investing just only for the medicine?
Oh my. Well, we, of course, everybody was caught off guard, not expecting this. It's not like we had a lot of stocks ready, but we quickly used whatever we had in stock from our pharmacy, which was meant, for outside sale even. And then we made arrangements from outside the state to bring the medicines in. And also the supplies for the hospital. Because everything prior to this, our supply chain is through Imphal. So we depend on the suppliers, vendors, distributors, stockists at Imphal to provide all our needs. But now everything is cut, and we cannot, of course, we cannot and do not want to do any business anymore that side, let's say. So we had to make those arrangements, get price quotations, find suitable suppliers very quickly. But so we've been able to provide all of that now. Actually, including the larger pieces of equipment, those dialysis units, we have now provided 53 lakhs worth of healthcare, medicines, supplies, services, all of that, and all free of cost. So our hospital is running with almost zero income these last almost 3 months. But by God's grace, we're able to manage and continue, and so we just thank the Lord for providing according to the needs, and so that we can continue to minister to those who are in pain and suffering here in Manipur.
It's not only about providing medicine. Many people have touched with the humanitarian work that even the organization have been doing. So many of these players, if they even attend the hospital, there is not even a place for them to eat. So even going to the extent of giving free food,
Yes.
how challenging was that?
So, during that time, we had good cooperation and collaboration from different groups, the civic organizations, welfare association, women's associations. So we were able to provide food not only for the patients, free of cost, but also for their attendant families. And sometimes the families would come, 2, 3 members, even 4 or 5 members, just to be with their patient, with their family relative who was in the hospital. But again, by God's grace, we were able to provide that food. We had, as I say, wonderful cooperation. So we thank those different groups who stepped in to help out in that time of need. And God continued to provide the food and everything required so that we could meet those needs.
We are very impressed with the story that you and your team has brought dialysis, because as you have mentioned it before, this comes so sudden, and so many people, diabetic patients, all of a sudden medical stock running out, and most of the medical facilities were depending on Imphal. So it's a total separation, and there is no way we can attend medical needs there.
Right.
What makes you buy the dialysis equipment not only for your hospital, even for district hospital? This is something so inspiring for the people. I think people need to know what you are doing.
Well, we had it in our plans for 2024, next year, to begin setting up a dialysis unit. Because we know the need of the people here, and we see them running down to Imphal sometimes 2 times a week, 3 times a week, and having to spend on the transportation, and somebody has to go with them, and somebody who speaks the language, and so many hardships are faced by those patients who are, depending on that life-supporting dialysis treatment. So we had it in our plans, but then we just, as the need arose here, and we see they cannot go to Imphal anymore and get that dialysis treatment, we saw that we have to do something here. And what really hit me personally was my own cousin from there, in New Bazaar side, Nehru Marg side. He was dependent on dialysis treatment. He has a double kidney failure. And so that was sustaining him, keeping him alive. And because he could not go to Imphal, he passed away. You could say, due to this crisis and the chaos here, the situation in Manipur. And so that really just hit home for me, that we have to move up our plans. Let's buy the dialysis units. Let's get them here. And we talked with the doctor here, Dr. Senboy, who's heading up the hospital. I forgot his exact title, but he asked also, can you please, you buy the unit, give it to us on loan. We'll operate it here. Because just buying the machine is one thing, but setting up the room, all the water purification treatment, everything has to be all done and tested and properly. He said, well, you buy the machine, you bring it, we'll attach it to our equipment and we can start treating patients immediately. So we said, okay, we will do that, give it to you on loan at least for around 6 months until it gives us time to set up our own unit. And so we will be, working together with them. And they also are helping to train our staff, our nurses, our team, our technicians, how to use and operate that equipment. So it's a good partnership that we feel here. This is, really how we should be working. God's people coming together, working together to meet the needs of the people of our community. And so we feel that's a really wonderful partnership that we have with our Dr. Sanboy there. So that was kind of behind the whole dialysis thing. We still want to continue planning for our own unit, but in the meantime, we're glad that that unit is being used by the civil hospital to treat a lot of patients and get more into rotation. Before, those who were requiring 3 times a week were getting only 1 time a week. Now at least they're getting 2 times a week, some are getting 3 times a week. Dialysis. So this is.
So this is just only part of the big problem that we are having. As mentioned before, we can share our medical problems to Imphal, but now the nearest one is Aizawl. How do you see the future of the people when it comes to medical challenges?
Yeah, we're going to have to continue to upgrade here in this area. Whatever happens with the separate administration, political outcome of all of this, we need to be more self-sufficient and able to take care of our needs. So it involves not only the equipment and facilities, it means building up the manpower. Because we're all completely dependent on the specialists and super specialists from Imphal who used to come and serve here. Now we have only few surgeons, few specialists here among our tribal community. So this is an area also we need to give focus to the young people to really push for the further education, not just MBBS, but beyond that, specialists, super specialists. We really need to support and encourage the gifted students who can do that to really pursue it, whether we provide scholarship, whatever it is, as a community or through the NGOs or CSOs, wherever it is, we have to really work at the human resource development of our people.
The ground reality of the situation is really grim. A cancer patient who could hardly reach to Imphal have to go around to Aizawl. A diabetic patient who could not even walk their doorstep have to go down to Aizawl. There is no flight in. It's a long journey. So I think these are real hard time. So I think as an organization like you really need to work hard so that we can bring in more equipment, as we mentioned. I think everybody has to raise the game so that we can provide the needs to the people.
Because even in Aizawl, they are also small state, not really equipped or has the human resources to handle even the additional needs of our relatively small tribal community here from Manipur. So they are still in a developing stage. So I've heard a lot of the patients referred on from there. Like in fact, we were in Aizawl and one cardiac patient had a heart attack here. He had to go by road up to Ngopa, from their helicopter to Aizawl. They checked him and said he has to go on to Delhi. It's like that we cannot get these healthcare needs met here, even close by, all the way to Delhi just for that. So these are things that we really need to work on as a community, as a society, to encourage each other to come up and not to look at it as a competitive thing, tribe by tribe or whatever it may be, but to look at, just to develop our people as a whole, unified together.
It's good to have you on the ground to come and see the reality, the grim reality of Manipur situation. I think there is no other word to describe than dilemma. We are in big dilemma. That includes economy, and let's not forget about education. UN Partnership Mission is one of the frontal organizations who has been doing a lot in this area. How much burden, what are the challenges that you are seeing, and is there a way out to solve? Few rich people could afford to send their children to Aizawl, Shillong, but that doesn't give solution to everyone. So what is the steps that you are trying to take, and what are the possible way to solve this problem, John?
Well, like in everything, this crisis has made us aware of our dependence on Imphal. And likewise, whether it be for the medical supply chain and the healthcare facilities and the specialists, or in the food supplies and other essential non-food items, everything, we've just become very accustomed to everything comes through Imphal here. And then we can, go about our way. But here now in education also, we're dependent on Manipur government and Imphal. Now, I heard that even to get mark sheets from last matric exam, they had to come by helicopter. And they had to bring the mark sheets that way, because there's no way to bring just the simple mark sheets for those students who had taken the matriculate exam, or those who had taken the higher secondary exam. So this is how dependent we are. And we as a partnership mission, we are also searching for alternatives for other affiliation. We certainly don't want to send all the students to outside the state, because as you mentioned, not everyone can afford that. And we, from the beginning, have had a mission to bring education to the people, whether here in the town area, in our Silma Christian Higher Secondary School, or in the villages, way up into the now Perzol district, Lungtulin, Senvon, Parbung, all of those places. So this is something that we are now actively seeking. What are the alternatives for the future of our educational program? Nothing as yet is final. But certainly we are in deep exploration, research into that, and searching ways that we can have a more, foolproof system for long term, for the future.
47,000 people displaced out of their home, and most of them are set up in private schools and institutions. Once we're going to open our education centers, where are we going to put up all these displaced people? How worried are you about giving them shelter, at least temporary, makeshift? Then, don't you think as a Christian organization, you need to be more vocal and work very hard so that some people can come on board, so that at least their basic needs can be taken care of? What is your burden on this, Pujon?
Yes, even our own Trinity College and Seminary, TCS here, the men's hostel has been taken over by the IDPs after the recent Langza and Tuiring attacks. So now we are keeping over 180 in our men's dormitory, which is actually the men's hostel building, which is actually constructed with a capacity of 120, and now there are 180 living in there. And we are also facing that challenge. We want to resume our classes, seminary classes, so that those students do not lose have any gap or lose a year in their education. Many are just ready one more year and they will graduate with BTH or MDiv. And now they may be set back. So we are also looking at that challenge of where, if we bring the students back, where do we move these people to? So this is something that, as I am coming here, these last few days, to see the ground reality, looking a little bit further than the short term, which has been just medicines and health, treating them in the hospital, and the food relief we've been providing and things like that. The real day-to-day. Now we have to look at the sort of medium term, a little bit longer term needs and solutions for the people. Housing, you mentioned, that is going to be one big issue. We have, what do we have here in this area alone? 30,000 plus. That's 5,000-6,000 families at least that are needing shelter, and that is huge for this area. Land itself will be an issue, and then the whatever type of shelter, whether it be temporary, like you said, tents or something a little bit longer term. So this is something we're going to need help, from outside. And obviously we're not going to get this help from state government. We don't expect. So either central government or from international help, this is going to be required. And so, we want to do everything now. We'll be able to take back what we have seen and bring this message to the larger audience and say these are going to be the long-term needs here to stabilize, really stabilize the situation here, the dilemma, the chaos that we're all in here.
So as a church pastor, what is your comment about 357 churches burned down?
Yeah.
So do you think this is a very small issue? This issue is rocking the parliament.
Yeah.
And it is also raised attention of international communities across. Mm-hmm. Do you think India government is doing enough, or what is your perspective on this?
Well, frankly, we have seen under the current government at the center, the persecution and attacks against Christians nationwide has been on this increase. From 2014, they came to power, started to go up. And then 2019, as they, again, in that general election, continued to stay in power, it's just gone up and up like this. I've seen the reports done by some of the research groups on this, and it's just terrible. But so that in one way it's shocking, it's horrific, it happens here in our state of Manipur. But in another way, it's not surprising, because this is the attitude, the trend we're seeing across India, whether it's in Chhattisgarh, in UP, in different parts of India. Increase of attacks, persecution against Christians, against churches is on the rise. So that the central government, turning a blind eye to this, it doesn't surprise me, but it is a terribly shocking thing that here, in a place where we have coexisted peacefully for so many years, decades, since before India's independence, that in 1-2 days, this outbreak like this, the violence against not only the tribal people, not only the Christians themselves, but against their houses of worship in such a widespread scale, and then again, not just against the tribal Christian churches, but against their own churches, the Métis churches. This has made it even more confusing, because is this an ethnic clash? Is this a religious clash? How do we understand this? How do we communicate this to people? That is what's made it very difficult for us to really I keep saying, to try to wrap our brains around this and be able to communicate it to the world. So, it's been very difficult. But that's why I appreciate, as I mentioned, all the work you and your team have been doing on the ground, trying to get the stories out, put them together, put them, into understandable form. We watch your videos over there from states, and we share those, because these are all helping to educate the international public about what's going on here in Manipur.
Your father is one of the biggest name among Christian in history of Manipur, John Pudaite. He's the legend when it comes to among Christian circle. We have been living together here for more than 100 years. All of a sudden, we are being termed poppy cultivators, illegal immigrants, narco-terrorists, and now we're facing ethnic cleansing. How does, what's your take on this? Are you shocked beyond words and even don't know where to start? What's your take on the situation of the Kuki-Zo ethnic tribes right now?
Well, certainly, to be attacked like this, and the way it was almost the propaganda was prepared in advance, and the people were indoctrinated who carried out the violence on this. This was so surprising. And it really felt like, boy, they have been studying this and how they will say it and how they will charge our people and trying to give some justification for what they are doing. But we know, how false it is. Most of this is a created thing. They're taking recent events, the coup in Myanmar, 2021. Yes, there's been an influx of refugees. But to connect that with the increase in, tribal population of Manipur in terms of going up from 1% to whatever, 40% in a matter of this time, that's totally crazy. I mean, yes, there's probably a few thousand who've come over. We know in Mizoram, they're very, registered and everything. There's 30, 40,000 who have come over from Myanmar. But it's not in terms of lakhs and lakhs of refugees that have come in here. Moreover, those people who have come, they are not only tribals. Even this recent 700 plus refugees who came in just in the last few weeks, last 1 or 2 weeks. I understand many of those are South Indian, Tamil, different, people who are residing in Myanmar who have run out. So it's not only, again, so it feels like all the facts are twisted. The poppy cultivating, okay, we cannot deny it has been happening here and even among in the tribal areas, tribal villages. But at the same time, who is funding that? Who is investing in this? Who is, somebody has to buy it. Somebody has to, the chain has to be there. So just to isolate the poppy growers is missing the whole picture, let's say. So these are things that we have to find ways to address them, bring the truth of the situation to the forefront. Little bits of truth are mixed in there with a lot of manipulation and things like that we see. So we have to be very careful, try to present even, in our own reports, the truth, not to exaggerate, not to fall prey to the, temptation of creating fake news and things like that. But really we believe that, if we believe that all truth is God's truth, we should let God's truth come to the surface and play a role in that.
After all, Satyameva Jayati is our national motto, right? Truth alone triumphs. So there are so many baseless allegations, but ultimately the whole world has seen the truth. What's your comment when you see the tribal women being paraded naked? Is that the only time Modi was compelled to speak up? So this is just only part of the tip of the iceberg. Okay. So many incidents still must be lying under carpets because we are black out in the media also.
Right.
So what's your comment on this?
Well, I mean, certainly leading all the way up to that time, we had heard the reports. We'd seen some pictures. There are and still are missing persons, young women whose bodies have never been found, who reports of violence, of rape, of different things, But that video that went viral, that made it really clear that there is truth behind that. And it certainly brought that awareness across the whole nation, across the world. I'm still getting emails from friends who are saying, can't believe this is happening in Manipur. So people, even friends who have visited here, visited us here, and saying, we can't believe this is happening. So we can't believe it either, but it is. This is what's happened in the last 2-3 months. So, we know that also we cannot go to any fault. So I've seen pictures of bodies lying in the morgue, unclaimed bodies. How many are there? We don't know. How many more are there? How many stories yet untold that are going to come out as things are more and more revealed here? So this is something, the tragedy of the situation, I think, We're still yet to know the entire scope and scale of it, unfortunately.
For the sake of the viewer, we just want to review the grim reality of the situation. The latest statistic that we have is 121 confirmed deaths, 197 villages burned, 7,000 plus houses burned, 359 churches and quarter burned, and the total number of displaced persons is 41,425. This is the situation we are in. There is a lot of arson, firings, and burning of villages going on still now. But the irony is, Chief Minister Biren Singh himself is still at the helm of the affair. So how long is this going to continue? That's a big question. For the last question, I'd like to ask you, Pujan, since you are working as pastor, how traumatized must the whole of Manipur, including Métis and even tribals? People lost their houses in terms of what crores and crores of money. People lost their lives. Women are raped, and some are burned alive, some are chopped, some beheaded.
Yeah.
So what message do you want to pass on to all the people of Manipur and even to the whole world?
Well, yeah, when you reflect on all that has happened here in the last 3 months, it's just shocking. And, we just need to lift up this whole place in prayer that, the Prince of Peace will be restored, that we can return to something of a normalcy here. And it's going to take a very concerted effort by all of us. And in this time, we really need to stay unified. As we try to bring the truth to the surface, as we try to bring whatever solutions, whether it's on the ground or political solution, all of these things, this is the need of the hour, is for us to stay unified in that. We can get split up and start arguing about small things along the way. And in the process, the bigger target is going to be lost. So we need to stay focused on that, keep our prayers, our energies focused on that. We do, as I mentioned, we believe all truth is God's truth. And we have to prevail, we have to be strong through this time so that God's truth will come out, will be revealed to the people here, across the state, across India, and across the world. And that is what is going to allow us to move into a next stage. You mentioned about the trauma. It's no doubt. I mean, I felt that even after with the pandemic, COVID hitting across the world, as we travel around, the entire world, I think, was going through almost a post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Now again, here in Manipur, we're going to face this. And there's going to be a lot of need for counseling on all sides, people who have suffered in different ways, physically or financially, and in so many ways, that are going to be needing this type of counseling and rebuilding of their lives and their entire beings, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically. All of these things are going to need rebuilding. So we really need to have a spirit of cooperation, spirit of unity, and a spirit of understanding for each other during this difficult time.
Thank you so much, John, for taking the time to talk to us. Yeah. And we really appreciate what have been your organization doing.
Thank
you. We all really need to pull up our socks and do a lot more. And I think it's going to be a very painful, long journey ahead.
Yeah, definitely a long journey. But
let's hope and pray that we'll overcome.
Yeah, God will be with us.
Thank you.
Amen.